I wanted to make sure you know that because I want to be transparent with you. Let me leave it at this. I respect you a lot. You definitely have the self-advocacy down. If you do want to go to HUD or the city, even while you work with me, we can do that. We can even do it together. In other words, not everything has to be bad. It doesn't have to be a complaint or a horrible, scary thing. It could also be like, if I'm never not clear with you and you want to talk with a representative from the city, I can do that for you. If you want to talk with a representative from HUD, I can give you the information directly. I'm very transparent, like I told you, and I'm not afraid of any of that. There's not anything that I'm hiding. I'm glad you're not reporting me just because it creates a heck of a lot more paperwork, and then I'm focused on that instead of you. But if it ever got to that point, I'm also inviting you to just tell me. Like, I will hold the meeting with you, and then if you're still not comfortable, then you can meet with them, of course, alone and file an official complaint or something.
But there's no complaint.
I'm just letting you know that I really want you to feel that I'm not above any of that, and I would do it with you or without you, but I just want you to know that I don't think anybody in the past, John Ames, etc., I don't mean to pick on him, I know that wasn't their MO, to actually be that open. I'm an open book, and I will meet with anybody, or you can go to them. But I'm glad to hear that I at least reassured you, at least temporarily. And I also promised you that everything we talked about, I'll send you back in an email. So that also gives you something in writing. Now, I'm going to say things in that email in a way that also doesn't create liability for you or I. In other words, I'm going to say, that we'll talk about your children, but I'm going to say, like in my email, I might be very general about the children. I might not say the two older and the two younger, and because you don't have proof of custody, like I'm not going to say that in writing because I don't want anything to hurt our case. But I'm also very ethical and very honest, so I will just give a very brief summary of everything we talked about. Okay. One other question for you. Now, I don't mean this in a way where you need more on your plate, but you mentioned job searching, and this is totally separate from your housing, but is there any way I could help you build experience? Like, would you like to consult with me on web development, even just as a volunteer, like 1 or 2 hours a month or something, just so I can give you a recommendation or put it on your resume that you're doing something somewhere? I can't pay you because you're a participant.
I'll tell you a story.
I could pay you later, but you might lose your housing.
I'll tell you a story.
Keep I'm going to call this like career vocational stuff. Let's keep that separate, because when we meet with like Donna, for example, Dorothy, I want to focus on these. And if we did come up with something like this, it would be under me. Like you wouldn't be doing housing with Donna and then talking to her about you would either be dealing with me or Zoe or somebody that's not involved. Because the other thing I want to reassure you of is these are two different things, and I want to compartmentalize. Let's say you volunteer for a couple hours a month, it would go through Zoe and me. Your housing stays with Donna. We keep the two subjects completely separate. Yeah. Okay, well, I will work on a plan with you. Here's some of our next steps. I'm going to email you the outline. I didn't quite get as much into programmatic as I would like to, but we'll talk, and the more we get to know each other. But like, for example, there's something we have called a support services plan. It doesn't sound like anybody's done that with you, so I'll add that to the list. Okay. So in other words, there's examples of more programming that I want to talk with you about when there's time. The only other thing I wanted to say that really does concern me, and I would say it's contractual, but it also overlaps with program, is we're talking about regs and we're talking about informing you of your rights, but we're also talking about how the program works. Nobody at any time gave you a copy of your actual inspection. Is that what I heard you say? No, there's a form, it's an HQS form. Nobody ever actually said it to you, yeah. And even before my team, like nobody's ever done that, even back in the John Ames days? No. So that's one of my biggest concerns is you guys, all of you, not Zoe, not just you, all participants in this program are entitled to a copy of that inspection. And you should also be given a copy of whatever is going to the landlord.
This is my first time hearing that.
And I was going to show you a copy, but I'm not fast enough. So anyway, I keep promising you documents, but I thought I had a blank handy dandy, and of course I don't. But anyway, yeah, it's the housing quality standards checklist. It is HUD. I know you're pretty savvy, so you could also just Google it on HUD's website in terms of getting familiar with the form and the criteria. But moving forward, anybody who's conducting an HQS, whether it be me, coordinator, or anyone else, you're entitled to a copy of that. Okay. And another thing that they haven't always done that John is doing now is the landlord should be getting a copy of that. And I will also point out, if we were to determine, now, we're not a lawyer, but if we were to determine, you know, I've been in every 6 months, or I've been visiting Jerry regularly, you can make a note on there that says, I observed Jerry cleaning, I've observed Jerry, you know, spraying bleach on this, cleaning the oil, trying to ventilate. I love how they're like, open your windows to avoid humidity. You're like, dude, there's literally water leaking in my ceiling. So like, not only do you get the HQS, you're entitled to what we submit as a landlord responsibility versus what we would think would be your responsibility. Now, don't get me wrong, they can argue, and they can argue till the cows come home, but you would at least have a copy of that, and you would be very aware of where we stood. Okay, so that's another thing that I added here is you should be getting HQS back. Okay, and I'll make sure that happens in the future. All right, long talk. Did I wear you out?
I am exhausted. This has been a lot, but I'm glad that we had this meeting though.
Well, thank you. I was going to say, I don't mean to overwhelm you, and I know I talk a lot, but I think we both had some really good ideas, and I just want to make sure that I get you everything back in the email. I'm really going to be thinking hard about those kiddos, though, in terms of how we can, gosh, there's got to be a way to document that. Let me just think about it a little more.
Okay.
And one thing I keep telling you is Dorothy and I are pretty good at creative solutions, but that are still legal and ethical.
That's what works.
I'm gonna walk you out.